Hey, this is Ashley. You're watching Healing Sin Vergüenza. New episodes every 2 weeks.
Hi guys, I'm Fabiola.
Hi, Ashley.
And we are Healing Sin Vergüenza.
Welcome back to another episode
Hi.
on this rainy day.
So Ashley, what school did you go to for your undergrad?
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about schooling, education, and our journeys.
Our experiences.
Yes. So I have it here. I don't know if you can really see.
Syracuse.
And it says alumni. Yes. So for undergrad, I went to Syracuse. And then for grad school, I went to Case Western Reserve University.
What made you for undergrad, choose a school in New York, being from California?
It's a long story.
Okay, well, we got time, honey.
Okay, so basically, I'll make it a long story short. So basically, when it came for everyone applying to schools, from how I remember it, because this was a very long time ago, everyone was applying to different schools. I applied to, I think, like most of the UCs, a few out of state. I don't really remember where, but I know that Syracuse was the only one in New York that I applied to. And it was the last school I applied to. My friend that I had known since kindergarten was applying there, and she let me know. So I applied as well. And that same friend, we both applied to San Francisco, and we both got in. And we went, my parents took us to go view the school and check it out. And we were set on committee and being roommates, dorming together since we had known each other since kindergarten. And then the following week after, I got the acceptance letter in the mail for Syracuse, which I was not expecting. I totally forgot I even applied, if I'm being honest. And I remember when I initially had applied, I just told myself, if I got in, I'm going, I'm leaving. So I got in, and I remember like showing my parents like, oh, look, I got in. And they were just like, okay, and like no excitement, nothing. Because they're like, you're not going to that school. It's so expensive and it's far away.
It's far.
And besides me, there's only been one more cousin of mine that went to college. She went to Mount St. Mary's.
So Ashley is the second out of the cousins who goes to university. The first one, which is the oldest, my niece and her cousin, went to Mount St. Mary's, and this puts Ashley to be the second one. But what was shocking was that you picked, I think for us, it was shocking that you picked a school so far away versus we all knew you were going to go to a university in college, but we just did not know that it was going to be in New York. I remember that was the shock. We were like, what?
I bet even
I know. And I remember what? Grandma was like, we're going to let her go that far. Like, it wasn't even about money. It was more like, she's so far.
Everyone was like, because, my parents didn't know either how it worked, and my aunts, uncles either. Everyone was just like, she's losing her mind. Like, this is crazy. So, so then I got in, and I was like, I want to go. Like, I told myself I was going to go. But my parents were like, I don't know how we're going to, like, make that happen. So it's a hard no. And this was, if I remember correctly, I want to say, because the school year was ending already, this was probably May or late April. And then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not going to go, but I do want to go, so I'm like, figure it out. Before I could figure it out, I got something else in the mail. It was this program. I don't remember what it's called. I think it was SSI was the program. And there was an HEOP program, which was for, it's basically like a scholarship program for minorities, low income. And I got that, and it was a full ride to Syracuse. And in order for me to qualify to get that full ride, I had to start their summer start program and participate in it before the fall year started, the first year, my freshman year.
May when you got it?
Yeah, this was like late April, May, and I had to be there in June.
Yeah.
So it felt like within like 3 weeks, I was already...
Bye.
I was out. And because I was like, full ride?
Yeah, I would have been like, bye.
Yeah, that sold everyone. After that full ride, everyone was like Still, I think my parents were a little like pushy about it because flights. I mean, at that time to fly into Syracuse was like, I'm pretty sure it's still like that. You have to fly into the city, then go fly into Syracuse. It's such a small little airport. I don't know if there's direct flights now, but back then there was no direct flights. So they were like, I remember the flights like round trip sometimes would be like $700, $800. And at that time that was a lot.
I mean, for a flight, that's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a lot of
especially
money.
in our family,
Yeah.
like who don't normally travel.
Yeah, and then let alone a flight like that expensive to go just to New York, crazy. But yeah, and that's how I ended up there.
Yeah, I love
And I
that.
spent 4 years there, graduated, not gonna say the year, but graduated from Syracuse. I took a
What
year
was your major?
I majored in psychology and addiction studies.
What made you pick that?
But I went in doing pre-med biology.
Get it, girl.
I wanted to be a doctor. Um, but then, them bio classes were so
They're
hard. Just the science
They're all
track was
sciences.
very, very, very hard. And then I was like, I don't think this is something I want to do because if I really liked it and I was passionate about it, I wouldn't be struggling so bad. So then I was like, what can I do? It was already, I think it was sophomore year, and changing your major and doing all that's such a hassle. And if you don't already have like the right credits or whatever you need to be in that major, then you probably have to stay for the summer and pick up more classes, or you're gonna graduate late. So I was just like trying to figure out what I should do, and then I was like, I think I want to go to law school. So then that's why I went into psych because I wanted to do criminal law. And at that time it was already too hard to get into or too late, I would say, to get into the forensic psych program, which I wanted to do. So that's why I ended up doing psych with a minor in addiction studies, since that could play a role into the forensic field. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted either to like go into the law route and become a criminal lawyer, or do something with like forensics, like a detective, something like that. Um, so I focused on that, and then after I graduated, I took a year. I was already studying for the LSATs my senior year. So then I moved back to LA. I took 1 year off because I was gonna study for the LSATs, and then apply to law school. And then that changed because I started working for a mental health agency, and that's when I realized I was like, oh, I think I want to do something different now and get my master's and not go to law school anymore and get my master's in social work and become an LCSW, which I'm working towards right now. So yeah, that was my journey, my career path so far. I mean, it's still in progress, but everything you see, there was a lot of changes happening
Yeah.
there, a lot, and especially not. I wish if I could go back, I think I would choose something completely different to major in. Also, at that time, I didn't really have any guidance on how majors worked. I was literally, I was like, what? Everything was so new to me. I did not know anything, especially when it came, I feel like a lot of people could relate when it came to like FAFSA and applying and having to
Yeah.
pick classes and do all this stuff. Literally, I was just figuring it out as
On
I
your
went, and I
own.
had
Yeah.
no one to help me besides,
Same.
like the school counselors and stuff. But half the time, like I didn't want to talk to them. Um, so it was hard. So if I could go back and I knew how the college system worked, it would have been such a different experience for
What do you
me.
think you would be doing?
Because originally, oh, and I left something out. Originally, when I was applying to college, I wanted to go in doing business.
Oh.
I wanted to go to the business school, but my dad said, Hamas. He was so against it.
Why?
He was
It's
so against it. I
probably
remember he
some
was like,
machismo,
yeah, he was
maybe.
so against it. He's like, if you decide to like change your major or do the business route, I'm not gonna support you and I'm not gonna send you to school in New York. You could stay here in LA. He told me that.
Rolling eyes.
Yeah, he literally told me that. So I feel like that was always in the back of my mind. And then I think it's also because when I went in, I applied under like the pre-med track bio. And once he saw that on paper, like, oh, pre-med bio.
Yeah. He was like, I'm gonna have a doctor.
Yeah, doing
Yes.
cartwheels, all this stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So then so I remember when I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. And I switched everything around. It was hard for him. And then after some time, I was just like, this man, like, he needs to get over it. It's my life. But in the beginning, I did really like hold his opinion like right here, and he would always be in the back of my mind with any decision that I made. But then after some time, I was like, like when he's gone, this is going to be my life, my
Yeah.
career, and I have to choose something that I'm going to be happy doing, and which I think I stood by because as my journey went on, and in the process I went from one thing to another until I realized what it is that I wanted to do, and I'm enjoying doing this right now. But if I could go back, I would do something different. What I would do, I don't know. I would dabble with like nursing to do like aesthetics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to do
Well,
the
I think it's you're from LA, and you
yeah.
see that
I
is
like
like in
that.
such high demand.
Or I like a lot of things. I even dabbled into like real estate classes. All I needed to do was take my test. But that also, I was busy with like, I started getting my master's around the same time, so I didn't really focus on that. But yeah, this is where I am now.
So earlier you said that after when you were studying for your LSATs, you got a job,
Mhm.
right? And then you said that that kind of, in not so many words, kind of pushed you in a different direction. So
Yeah.
what was it about that job that maybe made you
I
see
just
a
really
different
enjoyed
thing?
it.
Okay.
I worked at a mental health agency for it was contracted with the Department of Mental Health and contracted with DCFS, and we worked with children in the foster care system that were getting taken away from their parents, or their parents were trying to get custody of them again. So I worked doing behavioral therapy with them, working through their traumas with play.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I had a great experience doing that. Obviously it's not like butterflies and sprinkles reading like all those stories and working with those kids that have such intense traumas at such a young age. But from that, and also seeing the LCSWs that were working there, the social workers that were there, I just really, really enjoyed it. And I was like, this is a field that I want to be in. But then I noticed with a lot of my colleagues, like the burnout, especially in that field, with like all that heavy trauma,
Yeah.
especially with young kids. A lot of them, to me, it was different. I feel like I know what it is. And some people, I would see some people like crying at work while we're reading
Yeah.
like court documents and like having to step out. And to me, I'm like, it's different for me. I'm not that type of person. But yeah, I enjoyed doing that. But then I realized like, okay, I like this field, but I want to go somewhere different and experience something different in like the social work field. So I went to Children's Hospital, and I worked for the HIV department there as a social worker. And that's what motivated me there to like get my master's in social work to eventually, because there's more opportunity. And with your, if you don't have a master's in this field, then I mean, you're going to
Can't
have
do
very
anything.
minimal,
Yeah.
minimal opportunities. And once you have your master's, there's so much more things you can do: research, you can do consulting, you can do one-on-one therapy, so many different things that you can do. So that's why I decided to get my master's. I'm no longer at Children's anymore, but that's where I started my, I would say, real social work career. Um, but I'm no longer there. I'm a different hospital now, and I'm doing medical social work, which I really, really do enjoy. And then once I get my license, I want to continue doing medical social work and just, yeah, working my way up there.
What are your long-term goals?
Getting my license, that's my long term
Mm-hmm.
goal. I would like to be like a director eventually of like the social, like director of social work at like a hospital. Eventually, also, I would love to open up my own nonprofit in the city that raised me, Sun Valley, California. I would love to open up a nonprofit there for people like me, how I was growing up, and also focus on, for first gen Latinas and Latinos going to school, navigating that system because it's very complex, especially when you don't know and you have parents that, either don't speak the language, don't understand. It's difficult, and you need guidance for sure, because sometimes doing it on your own could be super overwhelming. So definitely I want to focus on that, is get my license, which by the end of the year I will have. I'm working towards my hours right now. And then opening up my nonprofit, obviously this podcast aligns with the work that I do. So, seeing it grow and get bigger and bigger and have more guest speakers that, can share their stories and teach us things. And, with this podcast too, I feel like where people are watching us that can relate and learn something, which is what the goal was from the beginning. Like, teach someone something or have them be relatable, or the stories that are shared here be relatable. But eventually that's what I want to do. But things always change, so you never know where life can lead you sometimes. But definitely I want to stick with this field, and once I have my license, more opportunities will come, and I'll see where I am at that point in life, and if what I want right now still aligns with what I want when that time comes. And I know you have a little schooling. You have some schooling under you as well.
When I was coming from, I'm first generation Mexican American, there's obviously no guidance, right? As far as like, what are you going to do? I'm the youngest of 9. And like I said in previous episodes, I know that I've always wanted to make money,
Yeah,
right?
do something.
Like, do something. Like, I couldn't just, I don't know, I just couldn't just not do anything. And I have a really like big personality. So I'm like, it has to be something important, or at the time, what I thought was important. My siblings were kind of like, no, she has to go to school. Like, she's going to be different than us. So I ended up going to school, finished, started really young. I was the youngest one for a long time.
Was that after you graduated, the first job you had, or did you work different places?
No. So I worked what was called then Anchor Blue. I worked there for probably less than 6.
Store?
Yeah, for like 6 months.
I remember that store.
And that was just to have like little spending cash, but then when I started my clinicals, like obviously I could not work because I was driving so far. My clinical site was like in Inglewood, and it was so far. And then I got my first job, and I started working there. And I feel like if I can go back and like tell my younger self, like, I would say everything's going to be okay, because I was so young. I had just turned 19 years old when I started, and the OR is such a hectic, heavy survival mode
and strong characters
and environment, and everybody has a strong character, and everybody's very opinionated.
Just in the medical field.
We're like all like very compassionate, but like we don't mess around. Like, it's life and death, right? So we don't mess around. Everybody has like a very strong personality. And you would think, oh my God, well, you fit right in. It was like, no, I was so young that emotionally I was not at the level where these other people were. No. I kind of, for the first like year, I want to tell you, I would go and cry in the bathroom because I would get yelled at. But I was so young, and then through the years I got really good at my job that it became like breathing, like, to the point where you give the surgeon suggestions, or you're like, yeah, that's not working, let's change it. Or like, what are you doing? Hurry up, we got to go, very comfortable. It's a very intimate setting. Like I've said before, a very intimate setting. It's like breathing, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah, because you've done it already for so long that now you just
And then probably 10 years ago, I was very comfortable in that position in my life, making great money, raising my kids, focusing on my kids, right? That I was like, yeah, this is all I'm gonna do, and that's cool. I'm cool with it. And then all of a sudden I started breaking out with like rashes in my face, like out of nowhere. And I would go to the dermatologist, and nobody could tell me what was happening to my face. Like, they were just like blotches, almost like psoriasis, but not psoriasis in my face. And I would go and get labs drawn. And I remember I was really stressed out because I'm like, oh my God, this is my face. It's not like it's my legs or my arms. It's like my face. So I remember going to go get my labs drawn, and this girl looks at me and she was like, I see you here a lot. And I was like, yeah, they're trying to figure out what's wrong with me. So they're like drawing up different, lab orders for me. And she was like, have you ever like seen a hypnotherapist? And I'm like, what's that? And she's like, I have a really good hypnotherapist that you should probably go see. And I'm like, but what is that? And she's like, well, it's someone that kind of just deals with your subconscious, right? And they kind of get to the root of the issues, because I think what you have is called a body syndrome. And I was like, what
Wait, this
is
is where you're
that?
sitting down in the
Yeah.
waiting room?
No, no, no. She was like literally
Oh,
drawing the
she's drawing the
labs.
blood.
And I was like, oh. I was like, what is that? And she's like, well, sometimes when you don't feel your emotions, or you suppress your emotions and you're kind of just moving on with life, that doesn't mean your body's not feeling it. And I remember I was thinking, I was like, I don't have emotions because, and what I mean by that is because, the OR kind of puts you on survival. You're on survival already. So you don't have time to feel. You're just problem solving and surviving, right?
Yeah.
And then I already grew up also in that environment. So it started off when I was a child, and now I'm in the OR in that same environment, right? So I'm kind of just coasting through life with this just like not feeling like nothing really affects me, if that makes any sense. I don't sit there and dwell, right? During that time. And I was like, wow, this is so weird. I'm like, this lady's cuckoo. I remember thinking that. And then, I go home, go about my life, but then my rashes are not going away. And what was weird about these rashes is that they would flare up and then like magic, gone, and not a trace. And then I'd go a week with not a rash and flare up again. And then 3-4 days and then gone again for 2 weeks and then flare up again. This was like a whole year of rashes. Finally, I just couldn't handle it. And I was like, I need to do something because nobody knows what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
So then I decided to make an appointment with this hypnotherapist. And the first thing he said to me, by the way, Frank, if you're seeing this, shout out Frank. He said to me, okay, I feel like there's a lot of emotions that are suppressed. Do you ever talk about your feelings? And I was like, who has time to talk about their feelings? Like, I feel, but not like in a way where I can articulate what I'm feeling. And we just started to kind of go deep into my childhood and kind of uncover my trauma and talk about my feelings. And I will tell you, I didn't have a lot of sessions with him. Anything, I had 6 sessions with Frank. I swear to God, I have never had rashes since. He taught me how to, regulate my nervous system, how to calm down, how to, notice the emotion in my body.
So when you started seeing him, they went away? Were they still present?
They were still present. I have not had rashes since my last session with this guy. Like, they never came back. And I think that during that time, like, there was no mental health awareness. I didn't grow up knowing that. I grew up avoiding emotions and feelings. And then in our last session, I was like, what school did you go to? And he's like, oh, I went to the Hypnosis Motivational Institute. And I was like, that? Where's that? He's like, it's a small private school for hypnotherapy. Like, it's accredited and everything. Like, this is where you want to go. If you want to be a hypnotherapist, this is where you want to go, because they will teach you. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. At the time, like, I had literally just given birth to my last baby. He must have been like 8 weeks old, and he's soon to be 11 now. And I remember just driving over there and just checking the school out and kind of getting more information. And then I don't think I thought this was going to be my career, to be clear. I think what I thought was, you know what, I want to learn about myself. I want to change. I think I was seeking change at the time, but I didn't necessarily know how to attain that. So I said to myself, okay, well, I'm going to just pay for this and I'm going to go to hypnotherapy school and this is what I'm going to do. Never once did I think that this was the path I was supposed to be on, because my mom was like very against it as well. Again, she was like, you have 3 kids now, like you have a family, like that's your priority and you want to go back to school. And I was like, yeah. I need to go back to school. Um, I feel like I needed to, and I did. And it's been, I think, one of the best things I've ever done. A lot of people don't know what hypnotherapy is, and it's a specialty. LCSWs don't do it. Um, Psychologists don't do it. Like, you literally have to go to school for this. It is a specialty, which I take so much pride in. And we deal specifically with our subconscious. We change patterns. That's why I'm so big on emphasizing on patterns. Because if you can't recognize your patterns, you can't change. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And then
Mm-hmm.
you're just repeating the same mistake over and over. A different lesson,
So
obviously.
look, I think the question everyone wants to know is,
Yeah.
do you really like hypnotize people and they go into like this different zone
Yeah. So
and
it's
you can
like a
make them do
very,
things?
no, okay, that's
Yeah,
stage
because you know.
hypnosis. That's stage hypnosis. It's called hypnotherapy for a reason, right? So it's therapy. I mean, I sit down in session. I sit down. We have like a nice 30-minute conversation, and we talk about like what's going on, what were your triggers, what happened today, how are you feeling, blah blah blah. And then the next 30 minutes, we're dealing on whatever emotion came up for you the most, right? So let's say I have a client who comes in and they're like, I was at my aunt's house and I got very anxious and I couldn't leave. This is a made up story, by the way. I couldn't leave. And but I had to stay. So then I started to feel like stuck, right? And I started to have a lot of anxiety. Okay. Well, what about the environment was making you this way? Were you overwhelmed? Were you triggered?
Yeah.
What? So then we spend the next 30 minutes working on this. I relax you completely. And I do this thing called circle therapy where I make you anxious, I relax you, I make you anxious, I relax you, I make you anxious, I relax you, I make you anxious. We go through this big old thing. And the point of this is for you to feel and recognize the feeling, but also know that you have the power
To switch
to
it.
switch your feeling, right? So, yeah, you are stuck. Unfortunately, you have to stay for the next 40 minutes because you're at this party and it's family and you feel an obligation to stay, right? But you're also in control to change your state, right? Feelings
Do
are,
like a lot of the or most of the sessions, I'm pretty sure most of them also can just be like talking, sitting up, or do they? There's a requirement that each one like maybe you sit down, close eyes, or
oh,
like
it
lay
just depends
down.
on what they're comfortable with. So I have a recliner in the office and I also have a sofa, and it's really up to my client where they feel the most comfortable. A lot of them actually will choose the sofa for some reason.
Yeah.
They feel more comfortable and it works for them. And usually what we do is, I take them into this deep relaxation. I start with like a progressive relaxation where they take the stress and tension out of their body, and then a little bit of guided imagery, and then we focus on the issue, right? So what we deal with is we get all that noise out of your head, all that noise, all that
Mhm.
talk or that negative talk out of the way, and we dive in straight into your subconscious. That's why hypnotherapy has the highest success rate, 90%, because we strictly deal with behaviors that come from your subconscious, because that's where our behaviors come from, unfortunately. So I love what I do.
Yeah, that's her educational journey. Do you have any other certificates?
Yeah, NLP. I'm also a trauma informed coach. So my hypnotherapy practice is a hypnotherapy trauma informed practice. So a lot of dealing with healing the inner child, which lives in our
Oh, do you want to
subconscious.
show?
Oh, yeah.
She has
Hold
something to
on.
show y'all. Speaking about her business.
So I have this journal that I made. It's available on Amazon. And basically, it's actually getting revamped right now. But right now, this one's available in
What's the
Amazon.
name?
It is called Healing the Inner Child, My First Journal. And I basically give you an introduction on just simple things, especially if you don't like go to therapy and you don't know how to articulate what you're feeling. So we start with like a feelings chart. I give you a bunch of different things, that are associated with anger, sadness, fear, and shame. Then we move over to triggers. I give you a little explanation of what a trigger is. And then we go to emotions in the body because that's what I deal with my practice. It's so important for us to feel when we're getting triggered. Usually the warning, it comes from our body, right? A little tiny introduction because I don't want to bore anybody. And then we talk about childhood memories, how they, sometimes come up for us and how they're fragmented. So not everything that we remember from childhood is accurate. A lot of it is fragmented. Tiny explanation on that. Negative cognitions, which are negative beliefs that we have. And then I teach you how to reframe that negative to positive, and then a little bit of self-regulation, which is really important because we get triggered. So the reason why, and then also I give a little explanation about your inner child and how to reparent your inner child and become the parent that you've always wanted for yourself. And the journal just kind of goes with a bunch of questions.
Wow.
Like I mentioned, it's getting revamped.
Is it still available right now?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon, but it's getting revamped. We're making it a little bit bigger and more room. So really
we'll leave
excited.
The link below on the
I will.
section.
Yeah. So it's been really a great journey, and the reason why I've picked this specific things to be in the journal is because these are the things that my clients struggle with the most. How to build an authentic relationship with their inner child, how to reparent their inner child. Why are they being triggered? Like what's happening? And sometimes, when you haven't worked with your inner child, you're seeking unconditional love that maybe not someone is able to give you, right? So the love has to come within ourselves. So, it was an amazing project that I worked on, and I don't know, it's been a great journey, for me. So we both have very different educational, I think, experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've mentioned before, like I think what it comes down to is the hustle, right? Like when you find your passion, when you find, your path that you feel you're supposed to be on, I think that is the motivating force
And
to
it's
do
okay to
other
change
things.
too.
Yeah.
You could be in the middle of something 10 years deep into a career
Yep.
and be like, you know what, this is not what I want anymore moving forward with my life. We only have one life.
Yeah.
We have to do stuff that we really are enjoying doing.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say, like, I think that I have always been I used to joke when I was like younger, I used to say I'm in the business of helping people, but literally I was, right? Like working along surgeons, being part of big surgeries, like I was in the business of helping people, but never did I think that I was going to jump to this side. Had I not like gotten all those rashes in my face, there was no way. There is just no way.
True.
And I have like really surrounded myself with like really good people. Like I have a psychologist who's my mentor, who's been amazing. I have a hypnotherapist who's my mentor as well. I've made so many great connections. A lot of my clients are referred by other therapists or psychologists, which I think is amazing. I've built this like really great networking community, so I think I feel like I am where I'm supposed to be, if that makes any sense.
That's good. Because a lot of people don't feel like that. So when you feel like that, that's very, very good.
Yeah. I still have a ton of anxiety, but constant. But it's something that I'm like, I don't know, I'm proud of.
You're
anxious.
Oh yeah, your sweater.
All the time.
She made those sweaters too.
There's no shame. If you're anxious, you're anxious. I'm anxious 24/7. Yeah, I'm not embarrassed. I'm super anxious, but it pushes me forward. It makes me look at every little detail. And I don't know, it pushes me further, if that makes sense. Are you anxious?
Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, I think I would know if I am. So the answer is no.
How how do you know if you're not just like high
I don't
functioning?
know. So give me I
Okay, or are you like not? Because I know we like we'll be in her room, or when I go visit, we'll have this conversation, and I'm like, I'm all the anxious all the time, and
and
she's
she's always
like,
like
what? She's like, I'm not. But I think when I was younger, I would say I was never anxious either, ever, ever. I couldn't even tell. Now I
I'm
can tell
trying to
you in
like
my body.
think. I'm like no, I don't think I am. But I know like I cuz I know I've seen it. I know how to identify it. Obviously there is moments where I'm feeling anxious about certain things, but like generally I wouldn't put myself in that category. Not that there's anything bad. If there was, I would own it. Um, but like with certain things, yeah, like if I'm running late to something, I'll be like, I'm like driving, like I need to hurry up and get there. I'm feeling like nervous, anxious. Like what is, like catch like before a flight or something if I'm running late or the thought of getting there, running late, something happening, things like that. But generally, I don't think so.
Wow,
No.
I feel like yeah,
Even though I feel like every other person is.
I'm always anxious. It's wild. It's wild.
But
But I've learned how to like de-stress, how to self-care, how to really put myself first and just, make sure that I'm okay so I don't get burned out, you know?
that too, yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like since you have a degree and all that stuff, have you ever felt like any like family members feel jealous of where you're at?
Do I really don't talk to that many people in
No,
the, in
yeah, I know.
the family? Um,
Or get like a
honestly,
weird
no.
vibe.
I don't think so. No, I haven't. Not that I can think of right now. So I would say no. I think it was, yeah, no, not that I can think of.
I had a really interesting like story a situation happened with one of my sisters when I was going to school.
For
Like
the hypnosis, right?
yeah, like I mentioned, like I was already in, I already had a family, I had 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously my mom was gonna help me and, you know, but I remember for a while, like my mom made it so difficult for me to finish school, like so
Because you
difficult.
have to be at home taking care of
Care
your
of the kids,
kids.
right? It was so difficult. Like I would like drive home at 11 p.m. from class and I would literally be praying the whole
I'll be
way
so
home.
anxious
I would
about.
be praying all like literally because my sister for whatever reason, and I don't know if it was jealousy or ignorance or stupidity, I don't know, but one of my sisters started to tell my mom that I wasn't really going to school. And like I mentioned, I had just had my third child, right? Like please, that I wasn't really going to school, that I was out having a good time. And I've never been like a wild partier, like got married super young. Like that's just never been my vibe, you know? And I remember there was a lot of times that my mom would come in or I would come into the house, my house, and she would have to go home, but she would just give me so much stress and accuse me of things that I wasn't doing. And I remember it would honestly, I think it was messing with my mental health. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? No, like I have to finish school because I'm going to show her and I'm going to show my sister, that I am going to school. Like, what the hell? So I remember graduation was coming up and I told my mom, okay, I'm graduating. And she was like, oh my God, like you are going to school? And I'm like, yeah.
What do you think? Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't I go to school? And then I remember my mom made that sister apologize to me and say sorry to me that she just didn't know that I was going to
That's so
school.
toxic.
It was like, just to give you like a little bit of a background, like it wasn't easy for me to be where I am. Like it was hard. Not only having 3 kids and a whole ass family, like that's one aspect of it, right? And a full-time job,
Yeah,
right?
and you were working.
Like that is one aspect of it.
Then having
But
people
then
over here.
having like your own family stir up drama just to start drama. And I will tell you, like, part of that, like, I think has affected our relationship now, where like it's not that I'm angry at her. It's not that I'm upset. Like, we have talked about it. She has apologized multiple times. So it's not like we have not hashed it out. But it's like the way that I am, it's like once I see you, and I can't unsee you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? So it's created a little bit of distance. Do I still love her? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it was something that hurt me very deeply because I already had enough stress and that was unnecessary.
Yeah, that's very stressful.
Yeah.
Oh.
But the moral of the story is this. If you want to create a change and you are getting, you know, issues or problems are coming up from everybody around you, drown that sound out and
It's hard,
continue
but
to
do it and keep on pushing and prove them wrong.
Yes.
Prove them
Continue
wrong.
doing what you need to do, you know?
Yeah. And whatever feels right, just do it. Just do it. And it may be hard, it may be difficult. There'll be people around you trying to give you advice, their advice, what they think is best for you, but you know what's best for you in your life.
You know what? This is something that I usually tell all my clients. You know what you need to do. You just have to get silent. You have all the answers in you. You just have to drown out the noise and just get really, really honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
And if there's any young ladies that are watching this, they're going to apply to go to college, want advice or any tips or just want info, feel free to reach out and send a DM.
Us. Yeah, DM us. Because we didn't have that growing up. Even when I filled out the FAFSA, like I had to figure that out on my own.
And that, I remember that felt like...
It felt like you were signing your life away. You're like, what?
Yeah. Oh, jeez, I remember. Oh. But yeah, reach out to us. Let us know if you guys have any questions in regards to that. But also, if you guys want to share any stories or write us any questions, also DM us or comment.
Yeah. We're excited to be a part of your guys' lives.
Yes, and thank you so much for everyone for watching. We appreciate it.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.